Go into a community, ask for advice about what people know. You want to make me feel good in Philly? You meet me and say this, where's a good restaurant to go to in Philly? My brain is so excited. Alvez, Budokan, because social media is outside of the Dental Nachos Facebook group. It's the way everyone's connecting, so you may as well become good at it.
One of my core values is always give more than I get. I know eventually I'm going to ask people for stuff, right? Like I have to, you have to, it's a business, right? If someone's not in Dental Nachos, why should they even join? Why should they care?
Anyone who has teeth should be concerned about what's happening to the dental profession. And watch this, even if you're about to lose all your teeth, you should be extra concerned because the implant world is wild and wacky. If you like to eat food and smile, you should be paying attention to what's happening in the dental profession because there's some awesome and awful things happening at the exact same time.
Here's the next one. This is the next big one that's coming out, and I'm in the knee deep in this one. AI answering the phones.
I've called people annoyed to hear from me. That's why AI answering the phone could be a whole opening.
It could be a game changer.
I talk to dentists every day who make a lot of money and who are miserable. So if you think money solves your problems, I always say this guy, money does not solve morale issues.
Money only solves money problems like paying your insurance and stuff like that. It doesn't solve any other kind of problems. Welcome back to another episode of the Dental Marketing Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Gary Bird. I'm the owner of SMC National, where we help offices just like yours level the playing field against the big guys out there so you can grow the way that you want. But you can't grow if you haven't hired an associate yet. And a lot of dentists get trapped inside of their practice and they make good money, but they can't take a day off. And if they do take a day off, then they don't make good money anymore. And so we're going to talk about how Dental Nachos, Paul Goodman, has solving this. And he's also going to talk about one of the events that he has and then also the Dental Nachos Facebook group. This is a really good episode. Dr. Nacho has so many good ideas and he talks 100 miles an hour. So I love it. It really keeps my attention. You're going to like this episode. Stay tuned. All right. We are live and I got the king of guac here and I'm excited to have a conversation with Dr. Nacho today. And if you haven't, if you don't know Dr. Nacho, then you're probably not in the dental industry and you're probably not going to like this podcast. But a couple of things we're going to talk about today. And I want to kind of hook the audience in because there's a lot of good stuff. So we're going to talk about the event you guys just had that went really well. And then we're going to talk about one of the biggest things that is preventing dentists from growing is hiring more dentists, which you have an answer around and super excited to have that conversation. But then I also wanted to talk about Dental Nachos and some of the stuff that's going on there. I've had the privilege of being in there. I've learned a ton. And so I'm excited to have this conversation. So let's start the conversation around the Facebook group and what we're doing there and what's going on there.
I love it, Gary. Before I do that, if I can just give an appetizer story. So, you know, when people say like, what's your flex or show your flex or show off, I want to brag because it has to do with guac. So on Friday or Thursday of this past week, Dr. Payray, who's a full arch implant dentist, gave a course in Philly. And I said, I want to take your team out to Alvez. And I said, I'm going to order everything. And they brought out 3 guacs called the guac tasting menu. It had a bazooka guac, Tito Santana, crab guac. But I told them, this was my flex, you got to know it. It's an off-menu item. So when you go to a restaurant and you can bring something that's not on the menu, that is my flex. I like to give people those tips. But yeah, the Dental Nachos Facebook group, I really appreciate all the engagement you've created. I think you are somebody who truly gets why sharing what you do as a sponsor, we wouldn't be able to do anything without our sponsors, but also sharing you as a person. As someone who's been doing this for 7 years, your "what do you think of my teeth" post was broke the internet. So I want to ask you, like, you know, whether you're talking to another sponsor, whether you're talking to someone who just wants to communicate on social media, how did that, you know, how would you rate that post? Did you learn something?
Oh, it's great. Oh, no, it's awesome. Yeah, no. So I posted. So let me start by saying this. I used to never think about people's teeth, but now all I see is people's teeth when they speak because I've been around dentists and I know dentists do this, that they've admitted to me that we look at your teeth, we look at how they're shaped and I'm not a dentist. So I don't go into the detail that dentists do. So I'm very conscientious about my teeth. Since being in the dental industry, I go more regularly. I wear aligners. I do all those things. But my smile is not perfect by any means. But I posted a profile picture, and I didn't even think about it. I just changed my profile picture. So you know how it turns it into a post on Facebook. So I wasn't like trying to, here's my new, I wasn't trying to do that. I was just changing my profile picture. And people were commenting, oh, nice this, nice that. And a dentist got on there and said, he literally started listing all this stuff that was wrong with my smile, right? And I was just like, man. And so we went back and forth on there. all pretty lighthearted stuff. I kind of made fun of his website, because that's my thing, right? Like I see dental's websites and dentist websites and I'm like, they're horrible. You know what I mean? So I kind of leaned into him a little bit. He leaned back into me. And then I was just like, man, this is really good content. What do people think about this? And do you agree? Now he went way extreme. He's like, you need full arch. And it's just like, there was some joking in there, but there were some serious things too. The post did well, but I try to post things that are relevant to business and things that I care about, so I can have conversations around them. I think a lot of times people, when they post in Facebook, they're just trying to get. And if your only goal is to get, then no one cares. Like no one cares to be like, sign up for my thing, and that's all you post about. You know what I mean?
I want to add. I mean, you did a masterful job, whether you did it intentionally. So I use this example when I really try to help anyone be more engaging anywhere. But let me use the sponsors from Dental Nachos because I love them, and they join the group. They say, "I'm not a dentist. I don't know what I can post." And I said, "Gary Bird's not a dentist, and he is someone who is at the top of the posting leaderboard." So one, I said, if you went to Thanksgiving and one of your family members brought their friend, and they walked in the door, and the first thing they said was, "Will you buy my daughter's Girl Scout cookies? Will you buy my daughter's Girl Scout cookies?" You like Thin Mints, but you're very annoyed, right? Because you're like, yo, this is not the time to ask me to do this. Now, if that same person, we'll call him Bill, came to the Thanksgiving, ate the food, commented about football, cleaned up the dishes. At the end, he said, "You know what? I'm wondering if you could help me. My coach years ago said that's the best way to say, would you help me? I wonder if you could help me. My daughter's trying to win this competition. I'm obsessed with Thin Mints. If you like Thin Mints, would you buy a couple boxes?" 100% case acceptance. They go from 2 to 20. Same ass, different. So when I tell people to go into these groups or at a party, simple. It's definitely don't get, and it doesn't even have to be this massive give. Just create shared interest. And you did this awesome thing where you asked dentists, and you were willing to take the feedback about what they know and love. And watch this. They feel 100% comfortable sharing. So I happen to take my daughters to a birthday party with 4 girls. And since I know my daughter, I say, "Oh, who here likes Sephora?" Because right now Sephora is just killing it, Gary, in the skincare brand. Whether these 10-year-olds need skincare or not is besides the point. They are killing it. So I knew what to say. Now, my other daughter, who's turning 6, when she has something, I might say something about Bluey. I might say something about Hello Kitty. So the whole thing that you did that was awesome was you made these dentists feel comfortable talking about what they knew. They were excited to yell out. And some people said, "Oh, you're a handsome guy. You don't need to do anything." Other people, because dentists can't agree about anything, like the Trident thing said. But my compliment, but I hope I encourage someone else to do this, go into a community, ask for advice about what people know. You want to make me feel good in Philly? You meet me and say this: where's a good restaurant to go to in Philly? My brain is so excited. Alvez, Budokan. So I hope that, because social media is outside of the Dental Nachos Facebook group, it's the way everyone's connecting. So you may as well become good at it, right?
Yeah.
Like become good at that stuff.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. And I think one of my core values is always give more than I get, right? So if I'm going to, I know eventually I'm going to ask people for stuff, right? Like I have to, you have to, it's a business, right? And I think just to keep our audience locked in here, this isn't just about sponsorship. This is about dentistry too. Dentistry is exactly the same. It's no different. And if you learn to give more than you get, you'll always have more than you can handle. Like people will come to you and just give you more and more and more and more. And so how this relates to dental, I see this all the time. Dentists are just like, well, I'm going to make some videos and it better generate a bazillion new patients. It's like, that's not how it works. It's like, it's not. You have to be willing to give to people and help people. Well, just make a video about cleanings. It's like, no, like no one cares.
New. Everything. So my dad, my amazing dad, sadly passed away in 2016. Dentist, awesome coach. He coached sports teams because he really liked coaching sports teams. And he got new patients because he coached sports teams in the 80s. Because on Saturday morning, where I was trying to, when I still didn't know I wouldn't make in the NBA, Gary, spoke this basketball, people go, "Oh, that's Dr. Goodman coaching the team. He has a dental office down the street." And what happens is it creates awareness of who you are and what you do. So when you engage in communities, whether it's through your phone or your feet or coaching, and that's why I say to dentists, it's so key to just, become someone that people can rely on and know who they are. But my dad coached a sports team, Gary, and the first day he passed out his cards, they went to practice, they'd be turned off.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah. So what can dentists get more out of dental nachos? What could they do to get more out of dental nachos? Like why, or a better way to ask that would be, if someone's not in dental nachos, why should they even join? Why should they care?
So why should they care is because this is my proverbial soapbox thing. Anyone who has teeth should be concerned about what's happening to the dental profession. And watch this. Even if you're about to lose all your teeth, you should be extra concerned because the implant world is wild and wacky.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah.
If you like to eat food and smile, you should be paying attention to what's happening in the dental profession because there's some awesome and awful things happening at the exact same time. I will explain. We can replace people's teeth with bionic shark teeth that work just as well as your existing teeth. I hope no one throws anything at me through the screen. At the end of the day, the patients say, this dental implant works like my regular teeth, right? That's awesome. Dentists are also being paid less for procedures that cost more. That's not so awesome. There's also dental schools producing untrained new dentists that may be coming to a town near you. And the private practice or even the DSO space, this is both of us, we are seeing our own patients. So it's really hard to train someone to do anything while you're seeing your own thing. So if you were getting your haircut, Gary, and there's a brand new barber, it would be hard for them to cut your hair and train someone else to do it. So that's an example of why they would be interested in this. And, I was actually just on with a podcast and they were talking about the origins. I don't know if you remember this, but in the beginning of Facebook world, you could add people to your group against their social media will. So when I started Dental Nachos, I go, I'll just add my friends from dental school. But when you're on your phone, you're pressing these boxes. I accidentally would add my wife's friends. And this group was so small. I go, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to add you. You can leave the group. They go, I kind of like hearing what these dentists have to say. Right. So, and then what dentists get out of the group is, and I was using this analogy at the park the other day. You've probably seen it. As the founder of Dentist Job Connect and the founder of Dental Nachos, the number of vendors that I pay each month, when they come and say, hey, Paul, you got to pay all these people. Dentistry is like 10 times the amount, right? I got an OSHA person, I got a HIPAA person, I got this. So one of the things why dentists can get a lot out of it is they will know things. Jamie Amos said this from Ideal Praxis, our sponsors. Whenever I hang around Dental Nachos, I learned something that existed that I didn't know existed before. And it's the same for me as a dentist. So what dentists can do is ask for advice. What's probably one of the most popular questions right now? Which cloud software should I use, right? Cloud software is like the space race, right? Which one is going to get there first? So you get so much feedback from a community going through what you're going through. The and part that is, if I'm just being responsible, Gary, you can ask your friends on how to run a marathon, but if it's a marathon for your business, please get a professional coach too, right? So whether I finish a marathon in 4.5 hours.
But it points you in the right direction, right? Like I know I can hire, so if I want to run a marathon, I can get a professional coach, but I don't even know what I don't know to ask the professional coach yet. And I think that's what Dental Nachos really serves. So it's like, this is the way I kind of see Dental Nachos for dentists and for anybody running a practice or working in the dental industry, is that you have your knowledge, which is extremely limited, and you can only base it off of your experience. And that's it. That's it's very limited, right? Then you have consultants who do this all the time. And the dental industry is pretty cool because everybody's a dental consultant, but they all, to this day, every single one I've ever talked to, even though there's scores and scores and scores and scores and scores of them that I've talked to, they all have their own approach and their own perspective, and they are specialized in their own way. Even if they don't say it, they all are, all of them. And you have to kind of go through the motions to figure that out. Then in between, that costs a lot of money, right? You got to hire them. It costs a lot of money. And so before you go to them and you start asking all these questions, it's why not get some general feedback and some opinions? Now, you got to be very careful, because if you get opinions from people who aren't going where you want to go, you actually want to do the opposite of what they're doing, right? So for me, if this is something that I dropped a question one time and I said, would you do a discounted cleaning? And 90% of the dentists were absolutely not, never. It's the worst thing in the world. Well, I already know. I work with tons of super GPs who do discounted cleanings, $99 cleanings, $59 cleanings, and they're doing $500,000, $600,000 a month in collections across multiple offices. I already know it works. I've already seen it. I've already ran the numbers. But the reason it works is because nobody else does it. That's the reason. Once everybody does it, then it kind of levels the playing field. So there is some nuance to being careful in the conversations that you have.
I guess that magical word, Gary, I'm a big Gary Vee fan. It gives you context. I'm a 46-year-old practice owner. I want to let you know, we didn't have AI reading our x-rays 3 years ago or 13 years ago. So through this osmosis of Dental Nachos, other groups, I go, okay, AI is reading x-rays. I didn't know if I wanted to use it. In my brain, I'm like, I don't know, do we need it? And then we started using one, and my associate's like, this is great because the patients trust me more. I never would have found out about these things without the power of social media. If people are listening, I think of social media like this giant landscape, or, to use more, I think of it like Philadelphia. There's hundreds of restaurants, and, you see Dental Nachos. My friend Grant Blow runs Nifty Thrifty. Bob D runs Dentistry in General. And go get context from people. People are sharing for free. I said them, I had 4 friends in a Hotmail account, Gary. If they didn't know the answers, I was out of luck. I had an amazing dad, but he was 30 years older than me. He wasn't in the game.
He's going to tell you no to digital x-rays for the same reason that you thought no, right?
Yeah,
like
actually, he just doesn't. Really good. It's interesting. Sometimes I think we romanticize people in our lives too much. Like me and my dad waited too long on digital x-rays. You don't want to know why? Because we don't want to go through the hassle of networking the office. So we waited way too long. I waited. When people say I have no regrets in life, I say you're a liar. I had a George Clooney haircut in college. My mom said it was stupid. It looked very stupid. Okay, the Caesar haircut. I regret not getting a CBC2 sooner. I regret not looking at my numbers for insurance sooner. I totally regret not going digital sooner. So many things I regret.
So here's the next one. This is the next big one that's coming out, and I'm in the knee deep in this one. This one's very polarizing in dental, and it's going to be fought tooth and nail, and I'm here for it. Right? Is AI answering the phones? And like it's coming, and it's better than the majority of the dental industry answering the phone right now on conversion. It's going to be market dependent at first, because there's going to be some markets that are totally fine with it, and they're just like, cool, this is way faster. And then there's going to be other markets where they're like, click, I don't want to talk to you because you're not a real person. But they're going to be able to answer every single question. You're going to be able to load your scripting in. You're going to be able to measure conversion. And it's coming. Like it's here. It's just the bugs are being worked out on it. But in the next year or so, you're going to see this roll out, and then just people are going to hash it out. And some people are going to say, nope, only humans. You got to have that human touch. But they said the same thing about text messaging, right? Like text messaging was like, no text messaging is the worst thing ever. It's ruining communication.
So Dr. Steven Razzer is one of my mentors and idols. We're very close today. He runs he's a solo GP in one of the most economically depressed areas, and he collects $4 to $5 million a year. You should have him on the podcast. He's amazing. So Steven Razner, Lionhearted Podcast. So when he came to speak at one of my events, pre-Nachos, Gary, it was when text messaging for patients was popular. Okay, we had multiple dentists. It would be easy for my team to have to make 52 confirmation calls. Easy. So I come back, I go, hey guys, guess what? We can text people. My team hated it. They go, they really want to hear the sound of my voice. I go, well, that's a lie. That's a lie from best person number 2. So I go, let's try it. What do you know? They loved it. And in fact, any of the time where that text messaging platform went down, they were annoyed to call us. So try these things. I will share also a quick thing as the Dentist Job Connect founder. In Disney World, there used to be this thing, and I don't know if it's true, where everyone had to dress up like a character in the Magic Kingdom for a day. So you felt what it was like to be on the ground. I don't know if that's still something they do, but I thought that was a cool thing. Someone else said, I answer the phone at my company, so I will make calls for Job Connect to practices asking if they want to hire an associate. And this is how I make the call, Gary. Hi, my name is Dr. Paul Goodman. I'm a dentist just like you guys. I'm calling because I see you guys are looking to hire an associate dentist. I've created a platform to help with that. Could I talk to someone who's in charge of hiring or leave them a message? System, okay? I'm a friendly person. Some dentists should be embarrassed by how their teams answer the phone. One was so good, I made them get the dentist. They were so good, I said, I'm a dentist. You are such a star. Your dentist should know how good you are at doing this, because I've called people annoyed to hear from me, right, Gary? And if that's why AI answering the phone could be a whole opening.
It could be a game changer. I have a dentist, funny story, and I want to transition this to to the Boost event we just did. So I had a dentist in Utah. And Utah is one of the most competitive areas for dentists. And they see, I think, about 150 new patients a month. They do about 400, 450 in collections every single month. Super GP office, right? And he converts at 90%. On marketing new patients. Industry average is 50. Okay. So I was like, how do you do that? I trained that. Like, I've personally trained him and his team before, but he's also trained them. They've used our coaches. They've used software, they use all kinds of stuff. I said, how did you get your team to consistently stay at this number though? And he said, it was very easy, Gary. I have them each call 10 when they start. The front desk starts with me. I have them call 10 dental offices in our area randomly and ask these list of questions and he created a list of the questions that they get from patients that they don't like, right? And it's just 10 questions, like how much is an implant? Do you take XYZ insurance? Blah, 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 right? Really, really, questions that the front desk don't like. He said, when they call, he said they are embarrassed for the dental industry by how rude the front desk is. I just had a call put on my front desk on Friday. It was a dentist who answered the phone because their team wasn't available. This dentist was so rude it literally makes me embarrassed that I'm in the dental industry and someone treats somebody this way. I'm recreating the call because I need to use it as an example, but I'm like, I don't want to get sued. So I'm like taking out using actors, taking out all the information, but the tone is all going to be there and stuff. It's just crazy. And it's really, a lot of times dentists don't know that this stuff is going on. So I totally agree with you. All right. So let's talk about the Boost event that you just had. What are your Boost events? Who are they for? Who do they help? And tell us a little bit about the one you just had.
So the Super Dentist Boost concept is only it's only helping dentists feel less alone. It's only helping dentists grow their practices. It's only helping dentists pay more attention to marketing, money, because I could not get off my phone. So in 2018, I was at El Vez, my favorite Mexican restaurant, on Sunday with Mary, and I was on my phone. I don't know if your wife has ever told you to get off your phone, Gary, but that's happened to me. So she said, hey, Paul, this is our time together. Can you get off your phone? And I said, you are 100% right. And I turned to her, I said, Mary, what I'm doing right now is I'm answering a question on Facebook from a dentist who's scared and doesn't want to ask it on the group. And it's crazy to me that they're unwilling to ask it on my group. What if I put them all in a room and I answered the questions at the same time? And that was New Dentist Boost Camp in 2018. We put 20 dentists in a room, we live streamed it to 300 people, and we helped them with the challenges of their 0 to 6 years out of school life. Since that time, we've done about 10 of them. They all take on little different forms, but they all have a Boost Camp vibe of being collaborative, about being caring, about getting to know each other. You have to know everyone at the event. So this previous one, which you support as the sponsor, so appreciated, with Ted, who was awesome, was Super Dentist Boost Camp Practice Ownership Edition. The group there where they either bought a practice recently and not sure if it was as successful as they wanted it to be, and that could have nothing to do with money. I mean, just so everyone knows, I talk to dentists every day who make a lot of money and who are miserable. So if you think money solves your problems, I always say this guy, money does not solve morale issues.
Yeah.
Money does not solve. Then we have
money only solves money problems like paying your insurance and stuff like that. It doesn't solve any other kind of problems.
And then, you have children. The idea is they are new parents. And then I bring these people who are thinking about buying practices and say, look at these people. They're you. So we have 40 dentists in the room, dental students, sponsors. We had the awesome Dee Fisher. We had a whole women's segment panel. What I do that is a bit Nacho ordinary is I put the sponsors front and center. I say that we wouldn't have this without you. I've sponsored things where for some reason the event organizers kind of treat the sponsors, Ted used this term and I loved it, as villains. It makes no sense, right? So I say that these sponsors are here to help you learn. You're going to meet them. We have fun raffles. See them as people who can help you in this community. Dental Intel was right across from you guys at the event. And Ashley Best, who was amazing, first event, she had people walk up to her and say, I couldn't run my practice without you. And she's just like, wow, that really made me feel good. Then she had other people who were looking to learn more about starting her service. But sponsors, speakers, campers, we all come together for 3 days. We learn about the stuff dental school doesn't teach. We have assigned seats at lunch. You're not allowed to, you ever do this, guy? Maybe you and I are so extroverted, no, but have you ever been, people fly with someone on a plane? No, I'm sorry. They Uber to the airport together. They sit next to each other on the plane. Sometimes they stay in the same hotel room. They sit next to each other at the conference, and they never talk to anyone else but that person. So we make them do that by sciences at lunch, networking events. And we really just think, someone said this at this event, and they also said they wanted implant courses. I wish I had that while they're drinking a margarita. They said, Paul, your events don't feel like they feel like fun. So we try to combine this fun, food, and friends. And it's just a pretty magical experience. And my team is one who makes this happen. The dentists who come are so glad they did it. I do want to share, Gary. Many of these dentists, you have to drag them to the events. It's like pulling an ankylosed tooth. If you want to be an insider in dentistry, some teeth, very easy to pull. So don't say pulling a tooth. Ankylosed teeth are cemented into the bone. So I kind of get the I told you so, or aren't you glad you came, right? And one thing I can share that might help your listeners about Boost is, I won't say her name on this, even though she wouldn't mind. She wasn't sure if she was going to come. She goes, Paul, I don't know if this is enough for me. I don't know if this is exactly what I want. She didn't know anything about it, by the way. So I sent her one video of a dentist just like her, just like you. That was 2 minutes saying she liked Boost. She came. So the power of a video social proof testimonial. You could say 8,000 words with your voice, or you could show someone an 80-second video. Show them that video.
Yeah, I love that. I love what you're building because, and for people out there, it's like, oh, another event. And I've listed all the dental events. There's like one or two every week. So it's really hard to know what to go to. But if you want to figure out, is this something for me? Go to the Dental Nachos thing for free, right? Go join Dental Nachos for free. See what's being posted there. Drop some questions. See if you can break some of your preconceived notions. That's one thing that I've seen where it's like, try to break my preconceived notion and see what you get out of it. And if there's value there, then go to something like this. And I'm sure that it will be a huge help to you and your business. But one thing for sure, the biggest struggle that dentists are facing right now is hiring associates. And it's a catch-22. Am I going to hire this dentist that doesn't have any experience? They're going to be a bad culture fit. They're not going to be what I need, right? There's all these curveballs. In fact, the doctor I was talking about in Utah, he really struggled. It took him, actually asked him on the podcast, I said, how long did it take you to find the right associate? He was like 5 years. 4 different people. Like it's a hard process because once you're in, like you can't get out. Right. And so tell me a little bit about Job Connect and like, why is this different? Like how do you actually help them? Why is this not just like Indeed or something like that?
Oh yeah. I liked it. So, couple things. I created to solve my own problem. So I need to solve my dunking of a basketball problem. But during the pandemic, my associate said to me, hey, guess what? Usually nothing happens good on the end of that sentence. It said, my wife got into a neurology residency in San Francisco. I'm moving for the next year to San Francisco. So immediately I had a dentist that came every day that we trained in our systems, that checked our hygiene patients, that was now leaving my practice. But no, it wasn't leaving, all the patients that needed to see him. So I said to myself, you can use a high-level recruiter. I've done that before. You could go to Indeed, but what if I created something in the middle, like a care.com for dentistry, like we find for babysitters, that's fun, it's affordable, it's actionable, gives you access to this community. I will encourage your listeners too, Gary. One of the things that motivated me to do this was a message from my community member. A nice female dentist messaged me and said, hey, Paul, are any Dental Nachos dentists looking for associates? Because everyone on your group is so nice. So I'd like to work for a nice dentist like that. And I wrote back, that really made me feel good. Also, the group is very large. So while most people are nice, please make sure you find the right fit for you. But I was just really inspired to create something that we call more than a job board. We're real people that really care about your success. Our packages are $1,295 to $3,000. For context, a recruiter charges $15,000 to $30,000. Doesn't mean they don't do a good job, Gary. Indeed, and I use Indeed every day, and maybe Indeed people are listening and they want to collaborate someday. Sometimes we have an ad out on Indeed for a client services person for like 87 days, and we get like a bill, and it's like this bill that I was so much higher than I thought. And I'm not in any way mocking Indeed. But if someone said, Paul, how much does Indeed cost? I'm like, I don't really know, right? Sometimes it's per application. Sometimes it's for resi. We're just a flat fee. There's no success fee. We guarantee applicants. One of our packages stays up until you hire. And then people draw from the community. And I mean, if you want a success story like a tough tooth, Ben Kakos said, I don't want to use your Paul Goodman because your fancy dancy social media thing doesn't work in Louisiana. That's
actually what I was going to ask you is like, where does this work and where doesn't it work?
Yeah. So he said, it doesn't work in Louisiana. I said, okay, Ben, we've only helped other people just like you in your community of Dental Success Network. But if you don't want to use this, you don't have to use this. So in April, he walked himself out to our table and he said, I'm going to sign up. And starting today, I think his associate starting is moving to Louisiana that we found him. So what I say is like, the more popular the area for dentists to live, the more applicants you're going to get. This is not earth-shattering information. The and part is Dr. Michael McKay is a solo GP doing 3.3 million in Seattle, in the Washington area, but not Seattle, rural Washington. And we just found him his second associate. So it works for everyone. Everyone just needs to understand, just like you said with new patients, one of the reasons you're making so much money in those rural locations is because there's not many other dentists, everyone. So get some context and share a story about why someone wants to move to your hometown. Because one dentist on Dental Nachos right now, I love this story. I used to do more coaching, not high level coaching. I don't do as much now, but he was one of my coaching clients. And he goes, Paul, these dentists, why don't they want to move to West Virginia and work with me? Why don't they want to move to West Virginia and work with me? I make $1 million a year. They can make $250,000 a year. Why don't these young dentists want to work with me? I said, oh, no problem, Dr. Bill, that's not his real name. I got a practice in Philadelphia. You like making money. You can make $2 million a year that we're selling, right? It was made up. Could you move to Philadelphia? He goes, no, Paul, I'm from West Virginia. He goes, that's your problem. If you want to put a knowledge, it doesn't count as going rural if you're going home. So if you're going home to where your friends and family and people from high school are, that doesn't count the same way as asking a person to move to a place they've never met. And you have to, you can be successful, but you can't expect people to live a life that you've never lived. And I'm so sensitive to that, Gary, everywhere, right? If something has never happened to me, I may still give feedback, but I never pretend like I've lived it. And this is professionally and personally.
Yeah, that's really good. Everything in business, in dentistry is no different. Everything is nuanced and it's never the way that you think it is, right? So the example you just gave is very nuanced. And for you to understand that, you either need to get a ton of reps in it or talk to somebody who has a ton of reps in it. And another one that's very similar to that is like treatment. Everybody says, I wish all my patients had all the money to accept treatment. Well, you want to know something about patients that have a lot of money? They have healthy mouths. Really healthy mouths. Why? Because they had money. And so they went to the dentist and they paid for all this stuff. And over time, they've taken care, they've been educated. They have a high dental IQ. Now, can you do more cosmetic stuff with them? Sure. Maybe they're more apt to do veneers and aligners and things like that. But that might be a different practice than you're trying to build. Where the middle class person who doesn't have quite as much money, but is also very responsible and they work and and they save their money, they're more apt to do the bigger treatments because they need them. And they also, so there's always this nuance conversation that you have to have. And this is true for new patients. This is true for hiring a dentist and why won't they move here? This is true for everything. And it just blows me away how many people aren't willing to have that conversation.
I am with you. I mean, and one of the things I want to add to this, is without an associate dentist, you are likely going to have a challenging life with flexibility. The Stephen Rasner dentist we talked about what makes a successful dentist. Now, he is one of the most financially successful dentists that I know. And he said it's not finances, it's flexibility. Can I take off or not? Today's Monday, and I'm doing this podcast with you. My brother's flying home from LA, and there's 3 dentists working in our office. And there are solo GPs, Gary, that make 4 times as much money as my brother and I do. But they have to be at their office today, and we don't. And I'm not using it as a flex. I'm saying that if you do not figure out how to incorporate other licensed dentists into what you do, you may feel trapped in your very financially rewarding career. And when you're 53 years old and you got to check 3 hygienists on a Thursday in August because your team can't take off, you may have wanted to explore hiring an associate sooner.
Yep. I love that. I love the way that you're breaking that down and thinking through that. I always think of success as having the ability to choose. Now I may choose, I love working. People go, Gary, you could retire. Yeah, I could retire. I could not work. You know what I mean? If I wanted to, I love working. But there's some days I don't love working and I love doing other things. And but I have the flexibility. That is success to me. And that might not be a dollar amount. It might be just that option. So I love the way that you're thinking. I don't know why I do understand why people wouldn't hire an associate. I do. I get it. Like they don't want to grow their business. My mom ran a very successful business, very, very successful. She was a real estate broker. She was a real estate agent. And she would, on the weekend, she'd always do her own books, do her own everything. And I'm like, Mom, why don't you hire somebody to do this? She's like, I just want it done a certain way and I want to do it this way. She wanted a business that she could control that had a high cap for income, but she controlled everything and she kept it small and she kept it that way on purpose. I'm like, Mom, you could outsource this. And she didn't want that. She didn't want that kind of business. So I get it. if you're good with that, then you're okay with that. But I know that that's not the case for most dentists, because we've looked at the numbers. Dentistry has, amongst men and women, has one of the highest self-deleting. I don't want to use the word because they're going to post this on the internet, but you know what I'm talking about, where people remove themselves from this world. And it's one of the biggest, it's one of the highest. And I think it's because of what you're talking about.
And also, you know what it is? It's also the loneliness factor. So I don't know if you've thought of it this way, but hygienists hang out with each other at your office, assistants hang out with assistants, and the dentist feels lonely. And I will share, try to find a dentist who's hired an associate and wish they didn't hire one. They say the same thing my implants patients do. I wish I did it sooner. I was foolish. When they say they can't afford to hire an associate and their K1 says $650,000 a year, they're not using words right, because they can afford to hire an associate. So it's me, hopefully kindly annoying, right? To Sell is Human by Daniel Pink, agitating people, and to think of creating more flexibility by adding an associate to what you do.
That's awesome. Is there any, if someone wants to connect with you, Dr. Nacho, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
That's dentalnachos.com and dentistjobconnect.com. It takes us into both our worlds through social medias. You know, one of the things on Facebook, I don't know if you know this, I get like 16 messages on Facebook, and they're in this bucket that I can't see. So I used to tell people, oh, DM me on Facebook. And then I go, oh my gosh, you DM me 3 months ago, but Facebook will often block, or Instagram even block. So I like people to go through the website, because for sure they can, send us a message to the website, ask us a question. Would love to connect with any of your listeners.
That's awesome, man. Thanks so much for coming on. I always love talking with you. I love the energy, love the community that you're building. I love how you make it different, and I appreciate it. It means a lot to me. And, I just love participating in Dental Nacho. So thanks so much for building
Thanks for supporting us. We couldn't do it without you, Gary.